Morbidly beautiful radio. We horror.
Did you hear the one about the man who can't be destroyed? He was buried alive.
What more can you do to a human being? This is inhuman. He's got to be crushed just under the weight of that much dirt.
He was set on fire.
What the hell is going on? Come on, my God! The cat's get on fire!
They carried him away. But he keeps coming back. Don't be afraid. Be terrified. As I lay me down to sleep, I pray my soul is mine to keep. My soul can never step outside this bed, never into all the evil. Now back from the dead.
Are you scared?
Be here.
And welcome to another episode of the Calling Hours Horror Podcast on Morbidly Beautiful Radio, which is also nationally and internationally syndicated on Mile High Radio Friday nights at 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And now, your host, the head undertaker, the dead man Michael Jones of morbidlybeautiful.com, Coughing Cuties Magazine, and Digital Dead Magazine.
That's right. Thank you, Dead Girl 13, for that amazing intro. It is I, of course, your head undertaker, the dead man, Michael Jones, and we are going to have a fantastic episode this evening. On this episode, we will be discussing the situation with former Smallville star Allison Mack's involvement with the NXIVM sex cult. NXIVM is a multi-level marketing organization that offers personal and professional seminars. They're based in Albany County, New York, and it was founded in 1998 by Keith Raniere. News reports and former members have described the business as a cult. In 2017, the New York Times reported that a secret sisterhood within them referred to female members as slaves, branded them with Raniere's initials, and required them to provide nude photos or other potentially damaging information about themselves if they wished to join. In March 2018, Raniere was indicted on federal charges after being arrested in Mexico on sex trafficking charges. Following his arrest, Raniere appeared in front of a Fort Worth federal judge in the state of Texas, where he faced charges of sex trafficking and as well as forced labor in New York State. Mack is alleged to have brought other females in to be cult members. Joining me to talk about that this evening will be filmmakers Brandon E. Brooks and Mo Whalen, as well as Hallow9ine Network podcaster Dave Maresca. That interview will take place at about the 8:30 hour. In our digital dismemberment spotlights this evening, we will be covering Scream Factory's Blu-ray releases of The Town That Dreaded Sundown, as well as Cockneys vs. Zombies.
We are going to have one band in our Metal Massacre spotlight this evening.
We're going to start with a band from the Dead Man's State and from the nearby town of Lewisburg. The name of the band is Birth the Wretched. The CD is also entitled Birth the Wretched, and the song is Birth the Wretched.
The more I try and fight it, the more it takes over, forcing me to do things. Laughing at me. It's fucking laughing at me. You'd think this really hurts, right? Funny thing is, I can hardly feel it. It's getting harder and harder to feel anything. It's like none of this is real anymore. It's not real. Nothing is real.
And welcome back. You just heard the band Birth the Wretched. Their EP is entitled Birth the Wretched, and the song was, of course, entitled Birth the Wretched. Birth the Wretched is a death metal band based in Lewisburg, North Carolina, formed by its three original members, Chris Crum, Eddie Robinson, and J.D. Pierce. After incorporating two different vocalists, they gained Bianca Bell as their frontwoman. Spencer Reeves has recently also joined them on guitar. Their influences range from old-school death metal to newer bands like Thy Art Is Murder and Aborted. They hope to expand their music reach and continue their journey as metal musicians. If you want to find out more about this band, when they're touring, who they'll be playing with, to pick up merchandise, t-shirts, stickers, and etc., make sure to head on over to www.facebook.com/birthtw666. And just so you know, they do have a show coming up locally at the local 506 on West Franklin Street in Chapel Hill, North Carolina on June the 7th. Make sure to head on over, listen to some amazing metal, and just enjoy the pure evil. Coming up in just a few moments, we're going to have our feature interview with filmmakers Brandon E. Brooks and Mo Whalen, as well as Hallow9ine Network podcaster Dave Maresca, as we discuss the situation with former Smallville star Allison Mack and her involvement with the NXIVM sex cult. But before that, it's time, ladies and gentlemen, for some digital dismemberment. And in our first digital dismemberment spotlight this evening, we are covering Scream Factory's Blu-ray Collector's Edition release of The Town That Dreaded Sundown. Now, this is the original film, by the way. The film was directed by Charles B. Pierce, was produced by Samuel Z. Arkoff, Thomas W. Moore, and Charles B. Pierce. Special effects were handled by Joe Catalanato. The cast includes Ben Johnson, Andrew Prine, Dawn Wells, Jimmy Clem, Bud Davis, and Charles B. Pierce. This film was released by Shout Scream Factory back in 2013. Now, the premise of the film is when two young lovers are savagely beaten and tortured on a backcountry road in Texarkana, local police are baffled. 3 weeks later, two more people are slain in a similar setting, and Deputy Norman Ramsey fears a pattern might be developing. Texas Ranger J.D. Morales is brought in to help. The two officers must find the phantom killer before he can kill again. Now, just so you know, from here on out, there will be some spoilers as we discuss the film. Now, this film is a curiosity in the horror genre, to say the least, because The Town That Dreaded Sundown is a film that ties together real-life events with a partial fictional ending. The film is loosely based on what the media dubbed as the Moonlight Murders that took place in the springtime of 1946 in Texarkana. Contrary to popular belief, the murders did not take place during a full moon, but all did occur late at night. The killer was never caught for these crimes, but there was speculation that he could have been arrested for other crimes he may have committed. The director received some flack for his advertising slogan of, "In 1946, this man killed 5 people. Today, he still lurks the streets of Texarkana, Arkansas." And that was when the film was first released, but now the film is considered a piece of local legend and lore, even being screened at a yearly film festival in town. One of the most interesting characters in the film is Helen Reed, one of the survivors of the killer, who was played by Dawn Wells of Gilligan Islands fame. Never thought I would see the day that Mary Ann would take 2 gunshots to the face. The humor in the film may push some of the more hardcore fans away, but it is not too over the top and helps bring in a bit of levity to the events. Now, the film opens up on what appears to be a happy town not long after the end of World War II. Troops were coming home, businesses were opening, children going to school, But the events of springtime in 1946 in Texarkana are getting ready to take a turn for the worse. A man wearing a white hood begins terrorizing the town, starting with a young couple out for a night at the local Lover's Lane. The young couple are unaware of him until he disables their car and pulls the young man out, violently beating him about the head and face, leaving him with multiple skull fractures. He then chases the young lady off into the night. When we see her next, she has crawled to the road and it is morning. Though badly beaten and tortured, they survive their horrific event. The police are baffled by the case, and things were quiet for about 3 weeks afterwards, but the Phantom strikes again. This time, instead of just beating and torturing a young couple, he brutally guns them down, in addition to binding the young lady to a tree and assaulting her with bites before shooting her. He narrowly avoids being caught by the police while making his getaway. The town begins to panic, and the local law enforcement brings in a famous Texas Ranger to help assist them with the case. The Ranger takes over the investigation, and they set up a multi-jurisdictional task force to catch the killer and begin to investigate what leads they have with little results, hoping that he does not strike again. Curfews are set in the town, and the police stop cars and people for ID checks, yet the searches still bear no clues or leads. Some individuals turn themselves in for the crimes, but none of them turn out to be the killer, giving wrong information about what happens. Tensions continue to build in the town until the killer strikes yet again with terrifying ferocity. A young couple leaving a high school prom does not listen to the warnings to not go out after the prom and are brutally murdered near the center of town. More false leads take the police nowhere, and not soon afterwards, the killer strikes yet again, but this time at a residential home. He kills the husband, but the wife manages to escape after being shot in the face. The hunt for the killer continues, but he continues to elude law enforcement. Does the killer strike again, or do the police ever catch him? You're going to have to watch the film to find out. Bonus features include audio commentary from historian Jim Presley. There is a featurette entitled Small Town Lawman. It's an interview with actor Andrew Pine, runs about 9 minutes. There's another featurette entitled Survivor Stories, which runs about 5 minutes, and that's an interview with actress Dawn Wells. There's another one entitled Eye of the Beholder, which runs about 12 minutes. That's an interview with director of photography James Roberson. And there is something entitled The Phantom of Texarkana, and that's an essay by writer Brian Albright about the director, his career, and the film itself. There's also a bonus film included with this. It's a DVD. It's a standard definition release of Pierce's 1979 film The Evictors, starring Vic Morrow, Michael Parks, and Jessica Harper. Also included are the theatrical trailer, a poster and still gallery. This is a 2-disc set with a format of NTSC. It is a color film with an R rating. The aspect ratio is a widescreen 2:35:1. The film, of course, is in English. As I've been known to say numerous times, Shout and Scream Factory once again bring a genre classic to DVD and Blu-ray, and the careful attention to detail they paid to the transfer and the special features shine through once again. The film was never officially released to DVD before now, but this somewhat obscure title is a nice addition to any horror fan's collection. The audio commentary by historian Jim Presley helps to separate some of the facts from the fiction between the actual events and the fictional additions to the film, while the interviews with Andrew Prine, Dawn Wells, and James Roberson help to give a unique perspective about the terrible real-life murders, Charles B. Pierce, and their time on set. The addition of the essay written by Brian Albright touches on the same subject matter while providing more background on Pierce and his film work, and is a welcome addition and a worthwhile read. The theatrical trailer, the poster and still gallery, and the inclusion of Pierce's 1979 film The Evictors in standard definition are awesome as well, once again showing that Shout and Scream Factory are the standard bearers for Blu-ray horror releases. Overall, I give the movie a 3.5 out of 5. I give the Blu-ray overall a 10 out of 10. Really, really well put together, a nice piece of film history. You can kind of make arguments. You see where Jason from Friday the 13th gets the sheet over the head idea from, things like that. But overall, I think it's a film that stands out well, and it's a unique combination of true crime with a fictional element added to it. I would highly recommend you head on over to shoutfactory.com to pick up your Blu-ray special edition collector's version of The Town That Dreaded Sundown. In just a few moments, we're going to go into our feature interview with filmmakers Mo Whalen, Brandon E. Brooks, and fellow podcaster Dave Maresca as we talk about the horrific events surrounding Allison Mack and her alleged involvement in a sex cult. Just absolutely stunning. But before that, we're going to go into our second Metal Massacre Spotlight this evening.
And in continuing our special Metal Massacre Spotlight, we're going to do a double shot from the band Birth the Wretched. From the CD, Birth the Wretched, the first song is Slaughtered. You just heard a double shot from the band Birth the Wretched. From their CD Birth the Wretched, the second song was Vile, and the first song was Slaughtered. Make sure to stay tuned in later as we play the final double set from this amazingly talented band from Lewisburg, North Carolina.
But now, ladies and gentlemen, it's time for our feature interview.
And you will face the sea of darkness, and all therein that may be explored.
And welcome to our feature interview this evening. And, you know, this is a topic, this whole thing, everything that's going on in Hollywood, in the entertainment industry, all these damn sex crimes and all this other shit that's going on, I've hit my limit personally. So I've brought on 3 other people who have been guests on the show before. I respect all of their opinions, and this is a roundtable vent discussion. You know, I'm not a big Hollywood player. You know, I don't claim to be, but I work in the industry, and so do all of my guests tonight. So I think this is something that we need to talk about as a group. And joining me, of course, are filmmakers Mo Whalen and Brandon E. Brooks, of course, have both been on before. And, of course, my good buddy from the Hallow9ine Network, Dave Maresca, is with us. Guests, how are you this evening?
I'm good. It's Easter. It's happy Easter to everyone. It's also April Fool's.
Right? How appropriate that we're talking about this subject.
Like, perfect. All of it is lining up.
That's right.
Apocalypse is next week now, so everybody go out and party. The fucking world's coming to an end. We're going to just get this out first, though.
Oh, yeah.
Exactly.
This is long overdue. So people know that what we're talking about. I am talking about the story that's been out for a little while, but that's part of where my beef comes in with this. And what we're talking about this evening is Smallville actress set to be arrested over ties to sex slave cult. And of course, the actress that we are talking about is Allison Mack. Now, she is the primary name that I have heard with this. It's also associated with Kristen Cruick, who's another actress, and the co-founder Keith Raniere of a group that is entitled the NXIVM cult. Now, I know all that shit sounds complicated. What am I talking about?
Yeah, it does. I was looking at the history of that NXIVM. It says never mind, but it says it's like a training system that was administered for like executives to set. So it seems like he just recruited chicks thinking that he would build up their confidence and maybe introduce them later to other people. From what I'm understanding, it seems like it was one of those self-awareness type.
Yeah, that's what I gathered. So what we're looking at is that Mack, who is 34, is reportedly facing sex trafficking charges after allegedly working alongside Emmy Award-winning actress Kristen Cruick to recruit other women into this cult. Okay, I'm just going to throw it out there. What the fuck, guys? What is this shit?
I swear to God.
Sorry, how did she get involved? How did she, sorry, no, I'm all rude. Let me cut you off. Let the female talk. Okay.
No, go right ahead. It's all good.
I just want to know, though, how did she get involved? Because I can't find information on how she actually got involved with him in the group.
She probably got recruited by the chick she was helping, I would imagine. Because, I don't know, did anybody else immediately picture the fucking end of Wicker Man where Lily Sobieski and the other chick from the island are out recruiting dudes to totally fucking burn alive? I was like, all right, so this shit's real. This shit is going on and is just now really kind of coming to light. I kind of feel like open FBI investigations make this shit so heavy that it's kind of almost horrifying to think of what is coming next. But this shit, the fact that these, I mean, I think it's not out of line to say stereotypically you would imagine this to be more of a male role in a sexual predator type of scenario, that they are like these sort of evil lurker dudes trying to recruit people. But to like think that it's sort of like there's the you're sleeping with the enemy kind of thing going on, and women are recruiting women to be sex trafficked. It's like, fuck, dude, there's nothing sacred. Literally, there's nothing sacred. The worst shit that they made 80s movies about is fucking real. So, buckle up. You know, like,
it's almost like it's a weak mind. Like, so she went through it. She probably just had her mind warped, and then all of a sudden she thinks it's okay to warp other, I guess, more insecure females into a situation. Because if you read into it, like, this guy also only liked really skinny girls. So these girls had their mind warped. Like, they had to be skinny. They had to go through these classes. They were humiliated. Made fun of if they didn't even go through some of these, I guess, like, I'm trying to think of situations that they're supposed to go through to make themselves more appealing to the slave master. Like,
I don't know. Brandon, what are your thoughts?
I mean, it's, again, I've read the same stories that you guys are talking about, but for me, there's celebrity obviously behind it that I don't know where this specific guy comes into the picture, like with his company, but I mean, the reason why there's many reasons why it's disturbing, but one of the main reasons is the fact that these are, Kristen and Allison are public figures that, like, again, if their minds are, like Mo said, if they're so weak-minded from the standpoint of needing something like this, I mean, this has to speak more about their personalities as individuals than we're even seeing so far, because, like, if you're in that industry, you're already making good money, you're already successful to an extent. Smallville's been off for a long time, but still, if you're already in that position, for you to do something like this has to speak to your personality, because it's not something that you just get into and say, oh, I'm going to try a sport, or I'm going to try like a different business, like a lot of actors and actresses do. Like, oh, I'm going to start a clothing line, or I'm going to start a perfume. This is sex trafficking. This is something that, like, there really is no, even when people talk about like the brainwashing for something like Scientology, there's a lot of disturbing things you hear with that. But, like, there's still people who are on the outside of it, from Tom Cruise or whoever, that'll make it seem like it's something spiritual and something that's beneficial to the soul. But, like, there is a darker side to it that all of us can see.
You know, and the thing is like, the three of you know me. You know my thoughts. I am all for equality. There should be no differences between men and women in the way that we're treated. I don't care what your race is. I don't care what your religion is. I don't give a damn what your sexual orientation is. We're all human beings, okay? But the thing with this, there are so many things on so many levels that piss me off about this. And the first one is this, and I'm not going to name names, but as I was telling to the three of you before you came on, you know, I put out a thing for who wants to be on the podcast to talk about this. And I've had several females who responded to me and was like, oh, this woman's so bad. She's this, she's that, she's this, she's that. Hey, do you want to come on the podcast and talk about it? Oh, no, these are allegations. We don't want to talk about this yet.
It's the fact that they use that word that you, at least, I don't know, maybe for me, I'm like, wait, really?
And I'm not, And I'm not making...
Isn't that a big kind of double standard yellow flag?
Yeah, and that's what I was about to say. I'm not making a double standard. Like I said, I felt, Mo, I'm so glad you came on because I really felt like it was important to have a female perspective on this panel. And you are someone that has known me and my writing for years, so you know the kind of person that I am. But what pisses me off about this is being told, oh, we don't want to talk about this yet because it's allegations. If this had been a man, and I want you guys to be perfectly and bluntly honest with me on this. If this had been a male actor in Mack's position, I don't think I would have had any problems having a full panel of female guests coming on to talk about the allegations against a male actor doing this. Am I right or am I wrong?
Well, I think...
Go ahead, Muffet.
Sorry, I notice a lot of the females, honestly, especially when they're indie or just new, they don't want to touch subjects because they're afraid it might brand them. And I think when you've been in the industry for a while, you really just don't care because you've been through random shit. Like, you see where, like I think I've told you, Michael, before, I've gone to Hollywood parties where there are actual escort parties. I don't know they are.
Right.
You know, walk in, you're like, oh, these two just stand around, these guys with the monies, and they're like, they're like dicks to you. But it's actually been like a known thing where I've literally been to Hollywood Hills parties and found they were basically like escort parties. I wondered why, you just see things going on around you. So things like these sex cults actually don't surprise me, especially back in the day when a lot of agencies were starting up and a lot of them shut down because they were just ripping people off. But they also encourage odd behavior, that wouldn't have been encouraged if you were just in a corporate job.
Sure.
There's been many actors there's been many actors and actresses whose careers have been catapulted based off of those type cults. I mean, I guess like I was telling the gentleman before you came on, I have friends that have told me firsthand stories about being at those parties and seeing things. Then again, it was for the purpose of, if you want to be a star, you have the look, you have the talent, but if you want to, tomorrow, if you want to become the next Leonardo DiCaprio, become the next Mark Wahlberg or whoever, then sign this and come do this, and then you're kind of initiated into this Skulls kind of a cult. And when you see the meteoric rise of certain actors, sometimes we've wondered over the years why this actor, who's not really that talented, like all of a sudden is on every billboard and is the toast of the town, or actress, and then maybe a couple years later they're not, because either they weren't as talented or maybe they got fed up with some of the things that they had to do to stay at that position, or what they had to do to get there. And now a lot of that's coming to the forefront with a lot of stories of abuse of power and things that some of these people have kind of done to help their career, but like they regret it now years later because they realized kind of how bad it was in hindsight.
To me, it's so fucking sick that, like, at the helm of all of it, always, is that when you get so much wealth and power, you just become a perverted fucking lunatic. And it's just, like, what does that say? That it's all driven by, we just want to have crazy, ridiculous, perverted sex, and we want you to do it against your will, and we want to tape it so we have some skull shit to hang over you for the rest of your fucking life. Like, we have no higher fucking calling with any of this shit that we're doing, that it's like really always about getting off. That is fucking sad. Like, this is what's disgusting me about all of this, is that it's like, go ahead, take it and run with it. Go ahead.
Sorry, and people, I was just chiming in real quick, and people, all they do is like turn their heads to it. Let's turn our heads. Like, doesn't happen.
Until it happens to them, or it already happened to them, so they feel like, well, if it happened to me, it should happen to everybody. It's just kind of crazy that we have nothing driving us more than, like, you want to get to the point where you can just force people to fuck you and make their career out of it. That's your reward for letting me kind of like rape you. That's part of the deal. It's fucking nuts. Like, that's just fucking nuts. I don't know. I don't know how to even wrap my head around.
Well, and for me, it's like I said, and I'm I'm not trying to make this a man versus woman thing. I'm really not. I'm so damn confounded by, these reports have been out for several months, okay? And every once in a while, you'll see a story on this. And I mean once in a while, okay? And these are allegations. Nothing has been proven yet. And I know this is going to sound like a real dick statement, but I feel like somebody's finally got to say it. As of right now, everything against Harvey Weinstein is an allegation. Everything against Kevin Spacey is an allegation. All of these men that we see news reports every day, it's brought up, it's brought up, it's brought up. Why isn't this? It's the same thing.
I kind of saw it. It's like mainly on Facebook, you just kind of see it here and there about the Smallville actress. I didn't really read into it, like I told you before.
Right.
I was like, oh, it's just another, it's another sex scandal.
But I mean,
that's really common now.
But I mean, that's what I'm trying to figure out is why is it when it's the men, it's everyday news, and then when it and I really hate to sound this way, but now that it's a woman who did something, we see a news story once every 3 months, 4 months. Nobody talks about it. Why is there a double standard on this?
Kind of a dick about it, but to be honest, I wasn't a Smallville fan, so I mean, just hearing her name, I didn't know who the fuck she was. So sort of like,
I was kind of saying, I remember that show.
Everybody kind of knows who Harvey Weinstein is. Everyone definitely knows who Kevin Spacey is. So it's like if they do something good, it's instantly in the news. I totally understand something fucking horrible making it to the top. But this is almost like one of those obscure people who's going to become a news cycle story because of it being shared virally by people like us. That was the bottom feeders down here. We're trying to break into this fucking perverted party that they have.
But I guess the part that confounds me about this is what Weinstein did with coercion, possible rape, things like that. I get that. I'm just as angry about those things as everybody else is. And Harvey's were one-on-one with the people that he was dealing with. This woman used her fame as an actress, used her power and influence as an actress, and was selling other women into sexual slavery. And yet there is no outrage. I don't understand. She's doing the same thing that men in Hollywood are being accused of, abuse of power. And no one's talking about it.
I can honestly say when I saw it, I literally just thought, oh, it's another chick saying something about the sex scandal. That's all I thought in my head. I was like, oh, it's another small actress. I don't even know. That's brought up another sex scandal. It's just so I really didn't even read into it. And I'm like, oh yeah, I did kind of see something about that. Oh yeah.
Right there. What does that show you? That the narrative has been pushed so far, exactly like what Michael's saying, is that, your first instinct is to see, there's a female picture attached to a headline. It's probably another accuser coming forward of one of the several. Is it Trump? Is it Weinstein? Who is it? You know what I mean? And it's like, oh, wait a minute. She's like the chick version of that dude who meets the girls at the airport in Taken and sets up that shit. Wow. That's okay. That is a little eye-opening,
And the sad thing was, the really sad thing was, I got a lot of personal messages from people going, oh, you're making this up. It's April 1st. This isn't a real news story.
Are you serious?
I'm dead serious.
Nah.
I'm dead serious. Is this really a true, legit news story?
Well, I mean, I also got to play this.
Oh my God, this is April Fool's, isn't it? This is April Fool's joke, huh?
It would suck if it turned out tomorrow that this was a fake story. That would really fucking blow that we got all in passion and recorded.
You're not posting on a fake, man. Thanks, dude, thanks.
Now,
I would like to right now say these opinions are mine and mine alone. My network or any of our affiliate partners.
You got to cover the ass, man. I understand.
I mean, the other thing I gotta say is I think that I applaud you for one and I also apologize because I hear how sort of carefully you're trying to place this because unfortunately the fucking atmosphere makes even bringing this up in this way sort of automatically on the defensive, you know what I mean? And it's kind of unfortunate because it's already showing that the scales are tilted. I don't know which way they're tilted, but they're definitely not even enough for you to kind of come to the table with this as a legitimate thing to discuss without it immediately drawing the kind of sort of critical response that made people not want to be on the show. You know what I mean? It sucks, but I applaud you for still going forward and doing it anyway. I'm glad you invited me on.
Well, I mean, it's just, I hate to see the double standard. If we're going to call one set of people out for doing something wrong, that everybody's wrong when they do it. It's again, that comes down to what I said about, I don't care if you're a man, I don't care if you're a woman, I don't care if you're transgender, I don't care about any of that shit. If it's wrong for one, it's wrong for all. And if we're going to make such a big stink about Hollywood doing this, then this needs to be a bigger story.
There is a huge double standard with many, and I'm not saying all because that I would never say that, but there is a huge double standard that this is predominantly a male issue because Harvey Weinstein is the face of it and scum like other scum that have come out, whether or not, again, obviously it's allegations, but we know the stories of Bill Cosby, we know the Kevin Spacey, we know other stories people that we've heard about things that haven't been proven true in a court of law. But again, it almost is with some of the people that didn't want to come on the show, or even with some people that I know what their response would be. It would be, well, it's an allegation. That's kind of heavy to say that without knowing all the details. Whereas some of those same people have crucified the names that I just said by just reading the stories that are allegations as well. So again, by it being even if any female, it doesn't matter that it's somebody from Smallville or if it was Angelina Jolie or Halle Berry or whoever. The point is that it almost is a situation where even when I've had a couple conversations in the last couple months about it, it's almost as if, and I've made the point is that it's all the way around the spectrum at these parties in the Hollywood Hills or wherever. It's women, it's men, it's all different creeds that are abusing power. We're just only kind of focused on the figures that are out there that have become the faces of it.
And the other thing, and again, this is not trying to come across as insensitive, but I can already see where some people are going to make arguments for this woman. And it was something that Mo brought up, how did this woman get involved? Well, allegedly, she was a slave at some point, got promoted. It doesn't make a lot of sense in the article, but, that's what it says. And
it's a pyramid scheme for sex slavery.
What's that?
A pyramid scheme for sex slavery.
Right,
yeah,
but
basically what it seems like it's described.
This is the important thing that I don't think should get lost. I understand that if she was a victim, she was victimized. I understand that, but that does not excuse her behavior, because if a Hollywood exec was abused as a kid and started doing things to actors and actresses, we would not give him the same allowance. So I don't want the victim card to be conveniently played in this case either.
No, I'm pretty sure it will be, honestly, by the sex trafficking people. They'll totally play that card because that's how they see how sex trafficking helps. Even like pimps, straight up pimps from Hollywood Boulevard, that's how they take in their chicks, beat them, whatever, make their money, and then they have them recruit new girls for them.
Sure, but but on the same token, we don't make excuse for sex offenders who go after little kids who were abused as little kids. We should not make an exception in this case either.
Exactly.
And it's funny, we're making a big deal about behavior, and to sort of connect it to the last point about how people want to talk about it just allegations. It's all right, it's just allegations, but look at how the people who the allegations are against are behaving in the face of those allegations. If Bill Cosby If Bill Cosby was innocent, he wouldn't be paying to have fucking interview footage destroyed. You know what I mean? Like, if Harvey Weinstein was innocent, he wouldn't have been bowing out and being kicked off the board of directors of this company. You know, the fact is that there are enough people who know all this shit's going on that when it comes time to bail out of the fucking ship, they know exactly which buttons to push, which levers to pull, and be like, we not only bailed out of the ship, this motherfucker got ejected into space, okay? He's not even a part of his own company anymore. Like, they know exactly how to do that and do that quick. So it's sort of like, even the fact that that happened, which they're expecting to be some kind of social Band-Aid, is more of like, we're fucking constantly waving the we're guilty flag. And it's not only they're guilty, it's we're guilty too. It's the whole environment that's guilty. And the fact that I'm hearing shit in this conversation that's suddenly affirming shit that I was only seeing down conspiracy theory rabbit holes on YouTube, I'm like, holy fuck, do I actually want to make a movie now? Because I don't even want to have to fucking touch this shit. I don't want to swim in the same pool. I do not want to breathe that cloud. I want to be fucking safe and sound over here, just doing my own goddamn thing and having fun doing it. Like, it's just, it boggles my mind that this shit is an actual reality.
Now, let me.
You're right.
I was going to say, let me ask you. Let me ask you that to both go with Brandon first, and then with Mo. Since you guys are, you're both directors. You're both directly involved in the industry. When you continue to see shit like this happening, does it kill your dream a little bit to be in the industry and to work in the industry?
For me, I ditto with what Mo said, because for me it doesn't at all, because again, I've known for a long time, like, again, that Hollywood is a wasteland of unfortunate, like, situations of horror and abuse of power, and that goes all the way back to, I remember when I was first starting out, had taken meetings in LA and different things, and it's like there's stories that go back to Hitchcock and other actors and directors going way back into the history of film and television. And again, it just continued as the money got bigger and the power got greater. As time has come to where we are now, it's just become even more of a prevalent thing. It's just now with how many years ago was Corey Feldman saying, we're good, people laugh at him, some people laugh at him, and some people make fun of him, but he was saying these things 10, 15 years ago about how him and Corey Haim were abused and other child actors. And we heard about, like, actors that were doing drugs as little kids in clubs, and a lot of things that shouldn't have been happening in the history of kind of cinema, but again, they happened. So for me, it's like, and to answer your question, for me, as far as my career, the trajectory really isn't, not that Hollywood's not going to be something that I never aspired to show something on the big screen through theatrical release or whatever, but on an independent level, making the films that I try to make, like, that way, I'm not really in that spectrum. I'm not at those parties anymore. I'm not kind of in that world. So for me, my dream is the dream that I create, and I try to create it with people who are not people that have those type of morals, like Weinstein and some of the people that have been kind of outed for being monsters.
How about for you, Mo?
Yes. I do, because I just shoot with people I know, and just, they're friends, so we can just have fun. I just see it as a creative process and for fun. So for me, it's like, I guess, and I tell you, I've been working in the actual entertainment industry for over 20 years now, but more in post-production and post-production management, and then visual effects and animation and everything. So I've seen a lot of shit happen within the industry, and even in addition to that, because I was modeling, I was recruited when I was younger. And I had this other guy try to recruit me when I was younger, and he had a weird setup too, where he wanted me to live with him, but he had other girls live with him, and I was like, nope, I'm good.
How is this only coming up now in this conversation? Like, holy fuck, you're like an actual survivor of this shit? Like, God, dude, Michael, listen, bro, you should have brought this up early, man.
It's just a common thing, like. It's just weird because it's just coming out now. And I'm not the person that's going to throw names out there because it's not relevant anymore. It doesn't matter. It hasn't really affected me. I just am careful with who I work with. But unfortunately, a lot of females are so desperate to be famous or whatever, which I ran into a lot of those, or to be the popular chick or whatever the hell. that that they'll go through, and we'll like date this guy and live with him and all his other chicks. And that guy had that one I'm talking about. I was 19. He met me at, I want to say, Trader Joe's. And I went to his place a couple of times. He was trained seriously. And I just laughed. I was like, are you fucking kidding me? I'm not even desperate to be a model. He just asked me. And I happened to be shooting with another photographer at the time who was actually a popular photographer and a friend of mine. And he went on to do some major stuff. But I realized I just didn't want to model. And then later on in life, I really just wanted to be in animation and be in the back end of everything. And later on, I was recruited by a modeling agency when I was 23. And that was okay, but I never had the time to actually audition. But later, they got shut down for ripping people off. And I remember everyone just telling me it's always important. You go to these parties. And I went to a lot of different parties just living in Hollywood and being within the Hollywood party clique. And I never realized it, but a lot of my promoter friends would bring me out because I talked to people. And then finally one told me that. He would have me bring my girlfriends out, and we always went to these really cool parties. Always had bottle service wherever we were. And we never questioned it, right? And then eventually I realized some of them actually had escorts around them. So I'm like, okay, so no, there's escorts. And then it was just a thing, and then, of course, there'd be a mainstream actor or director, whoever the fuck. And but it was something that's always regular within the industry. Eventually, if you're around a lot, you don't even question it. You're just so used to it. You become desensitized to it. It's it's just there. It's around. So going back to this cult thing, it doesn't, I guess, really surprise me because it's the structuring is kind of, it's weird. Their little hazing things are weird. But if you think about it, it's kind of like a pimp that would recruit girls. It's the same concept.
Now
it's become more.
No, Mo, you brought up. Oh, go ahead.
It's just become more popular because these are quote actresses. Because I used to call people a lot of people star fuckers.
Right.
Because they really want to relate to someone, and you really want to be that person. Whoever is showing on whatever film they're in or show, whatever the hell. It's it gives them this fantasy world that they want to be a part of. So if you get some little starlet from, Kentucky out here in Hollywood, it's probably easy to rope them into something like that.
Now,
absolutely, guys. How many times have you? Go ahead.
No,
I'm just saying. How many times have you? Go ahead, Dan.
how much of this is actually in reality then a gateway that you either have to get through to get to a certain level? I mean, if you're not going to do any of this shit, if you're going to draw the line at knowing to not go into those events, not to hang in those cliques, does that mean that you've opted to not ever actually reach that certain level of success, access, fame, notoriety, fortune?
I personally just didn't believe it would actually help. Maybe it helps some people some girls for part of the way, but I don't believe it actually helps your career. Because it's eventually your intelligence does, right? And I can say that I gained a lot more respect from certain guys that did try to recruit me, certain guys that did try to offer me stupid shit. When I shut them down, it actually gave them more respect for me, and they never bothered me again. However, I did go after some of my female friends.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, how many years have we heard the term casting couch when it's been referred kind of jokingly about, you went on the casting couch, and that's like Mo said, it's something that's so kind of ingrained in, and it's so effed up about how that is. It's almost just a part of it. I have even been in meetings where people will again early in my career when I was training to be an actor, and you do go to meetings, or sometimes you go to parties or whatever, and you have some of these people that'll put their hands on your shoulders and you're strong and things like that, and you're just okay, this is a little weird. Yeah, and it's those things that if they get the vibe, and answer your question, Dave, it does. That's one of the fucked up things about the whole this situation where there's many of them, is that it does kill a lot of dreams, because I've known a ton of people who have been in those situations and opted out, and they were in essence kind of blacklisted, or they just either lost their whole kind of fire for wanting to do it. So they just were like, if this is what it's about, I'm not gonna sleep my way to the top or sleep my way to wherever it might take me or whatever. So it is kind of those situations. When I was younger, I was like, okay, I can go the other way, because again, I did kind of segue more into the filmmaking side of it than the modeling acting side of it. But again, I've been where I've seen friends that have had the hands on the shoulders. Oh man, you're really strong there, huh? And it's kind of like those things it's men, it's women I've seen do it. And it's like that, it's almost like it's accepted, because sometimes that actor or aspiring actor feels good because this casting agent or this manager or whoever is giving them attention. But at the same time, it's still kind of in the realm of what we're talking about, because it is using that power to say, okay, like, hey kid, like, if you want to go places, like, I can take you there, but what are you willing to do? And if you're not willing to do some of these things, then again, a lot of times you are. But there is the flip side of what Mo said, is that sometimes I've been in situations where sometimes I've straight up just stood up to people, and then a couple people have kind of shown respect. And I still kind of talk to them to this day, because they may not have been, and they weren't as sleazy, obviously, as some of the people we're talking about. But again, sometimes you do have that test that you either have to pass or fail, and you have to decide which way you want to go. If you want to take that sleazy road and kind of, like, and you can't be, it's hard to judge people for that, because I've seen people that I've known take that road, and they're doing well in Hollywood on shows and in movies, and I'm not. So it's like, I'm making independent films for small money. So again, well, for me to say,
like, is there like a Hollywood clean? Is there like a safe route to get to that level? Or is it like, no, that's it, man. The fucking Dark Lord owns that property. That is it. If you want Park Place or Boardwalk, you got to start fucking people. And that is it. No fucking houses.
Plenty of people. That's it. There's plenty of people that do take a clean route. I mean, it just depends on the luck of the draw. Like, not everybody obviously is sleazy. Some people are just so talented that they are able to from the jump kind of write their own ticket, because their talent kind of jumped out there when you see these people and they win Sundance or win certain festivals, and all of a sudden they're the talk of the town. They don't necessarily have to go through some of the pitfalls that a young actress or actor may have to, that may be good looking or may be talented, but they haven't had that opportunity. So they're struggling to get people to look at them and to accept them into that world.
Now, something that Mo said, and Mo, I had brought this up with some other guests on another podcast. And again, like Dave said, sometimes I have to really articulate what I'm saying so that people do not get the wrong idea. But like, we're sitting here talking about, do you have to do this to make it in the industry? Do you have to do that to make it into the industry? And one of the things that I've always questioned is, I'll be the first one to stand here with all of you hand in hand and tell you, rape is wrong. Coercion is wrong. Forcefulness is wrong. But, it's like you said, or like I say, it's not every actor or actress's God-given right to work in film. There is a talent aspect to it, just like any other job. Right way to say it. Right way to say it.
Where are you going with this?
Yeah, I'm trying to think of the right way to say this.
Wrap this up safe, bro, because you're kind of starting the line right now.
Yeah, I know, and that's where I'm coming from. Is just like, do actors and actresses who are not raped, are not forced into sex, who do these things and then later regret it, do they really have a right to complain about how they were treated if they willingly said yes to the situation?
But you know what? You have talked about this before. You know my feelings on it. And once I had this issue on Facebook where I said, why, during a Halloween thing, why aren't women talk? What about the woman that said yes? I said that. And I literally had a freaking feminist rip into me. And we're going back and forth. And finally, some of my guy friends, a few females chimed in on her. And she ended up blocking all of us. But she was a new age. I call them new age feminists, where they are new to the industry, so they haven't actually experienced the bullshit. A lot of females that have been around for a while have. So these new age kind of filmmaker chicks, I'm sorry, but they are, or whatever they are. They're like new generation. They don't know. They just know what they're hearing, what they're seeing. They actually haven't experienced it. You can't talk shit unless you've actually experienced the bullshit.
Right.
If you've been through it, then you can talk shit. But if you haven't, don't talk to me about it. Don't rip on some guy. Unless
This is like the iPhone generation. Like they've looked it up on Wikipedia and they kind of know what it is, but they haven't actually seen it with their own eyes. So they're just like anything.
They feel so suppressed by the man. It's like, no, I know a lot of good guys. I worked with men. I worked in technology. So I've always had guys have my back, luckily, because they know I'm feisty. I won't put up with shit. But they also know I have put up with shit. So it's like I'm pretty open about it. I just don't name names because it's like it doesn't help you.
Right.
Some people just want to believe it just from the feminist side of it. Like sometimes I would just watch some of the posts, whether on Facebook or Twitter, like some of the feeds, and people are just bashing other women especially in that Aziz Ansari situation, like where it was a date and she went back to his place and it was just, and then 3 months later. And 3 months later, she went down on him, and 3 months later, she felt bad about it and then kind of outed him. And it's like a situation where, but I was watching women just bash a couple of the other women in the feed for, how can you say you don't know? How could you, like, almost like they were like going against female by insinuating this man could be innocent of these allegations or whatever. And I was just reading like literally 20, 30, 40 things, and it was women bashing other women. It was like you said, it was a couple specific women. They were just, you don't know, and it's still, if she didn't have to say anything, like he should have, like, and it was almost like they just had to have that side of it without even really reading what her own statements were about the date. And that, like, would state that it was that she did these things, like, willingly. And he asked her if she was okay, and she said, like, so he got her a cab. Like, so it was a thing where we don't obviously know the situation because none of us were in the room. But to your point of watching kind of how we as a world, like via social media and even in our conversations, just some people will just bash. It's just, as soon as you see the name out there, it's guilty. And it kind of goes to what you were saying, Michael. It's like, that's not really what's happening for Allison Mack. But a lot of people did immediately crucify Aziz. But to what Dave was saying, too, is that a lot of people came to his back, which tells you that, like, there is another side of that story to it, because no one was coming to the back of Harvey Weinstein or some of these other people. Kevin Spacey was immediately kicked off of House of Cards, and like all these other people were ousted immediately from the Weinstein company. And like Aziz wasn't. They didn't say immediately like Master of None is over and he'll never have a comedy spot. No, because there is a story that's different than these horrifying stories that Rose McGowan and some of these other actresses have stated. And it is a different spectrum of bad dates that are bad dates, and like what you said, Michael, people who do things to further their career, but then feel bad years later or months later or whatever. That's a whole different thing that kind of should be in a different category than actual rape and sexual assault.
Well, I mean, you're also kind of alluding to this whole thing that's happened in the last, 10 years maybe, with the advent of social media becoming like the fucking be-all and end-all of everybody's day. You know, it's the first fucking thing you do when you wake up. It's the last thing you do before you go to sleep. was a time where people used to just live their own fucking lives, and people would own their goddamn experiences and fucking grow from them, and they would become a part of them. And that included bad dates. That included dates that became bad ideas down the road, but there was no way to fucking, you also didn't have this sort of, I guess you could call it a pressure, or maybe just because you have the opportunity to do it, you feel so overwhelmed with the idea that you can make yourself important. You have a whole web page that's just dedicated to you, so you fucking tell the world, hey, fuck, I had this really bad date. Now that I think about it, and shit, I really wish I hadn't sucked that guy's dick. And that's all it takes for the triggered crowd to be like, fucking mount up, guys. She didn't want to suck the dick. She may have said yes, but that yes really meant no. Let's go back to those days of what the fuck that, like, really, let's just cloud the whole argument. And it becomes,
who knows?
Like, why can't people just fucking not share their entire goddamn life with everybody else?
Yeah, that's the thing. I never put shit out there like that. People don't even know who I date. I don't want people knowing who ever did a fuck what.
If he wasn't a celebrity and this was just a random date that like went badly like that, we wouldn't even be having this conversation. Which brings us full circle to why Michael's even having this fucking recording. You know what I mean? It's right there from the first time that these stories were coming out that there's going to be no way that this wasn't going to be a minefield forever. You know what I mean? And I don't know. I don't know if we're ever going to find the path through it where not everybody's losing limbs.
I mean, what about all the dudes that fucked all the bitches that had good ahead? I know that's happened. You don't hear them complaining about
you know what's funny too? You see a double stand out there with all the people who post on Facebook of these like crazy teachers who are fucking statutory raping their students, and you'll always see that guy who goes, fuck, where were these hot chick secret teachers when I was in high school? I wouldn't have said shit to anybody. I would have been all about this. This is Boston Freak right here. You know what I mean? But it's happening now, and other people are seeing those posts and going, dude, that's fucked up. That's fucking disgusting. So you're a pedophile? And you're like, no, dude, it's the reverse. I was a kid who wanted a fucking adult. That's what I wanted to be.
Hot for teachers. There's a reason why there's a song called Hot for Teachers.
Yeah.
Mo,
it's fucking hilarious.
Just as a funny side note, Mo, you make more jokes about dating than even I do, so to hear you say that's funny. But one of the other things that I want to point out that a lot of people aren't catching on with this situation, of course, Raniere seems to be a guy that had a privileged upbringing, went to college, owned his own business.
Okay.
But here's the thing that a lot of people don't know. Authorities are also saying that Raniere, the guy who ran this whole sex ring, was being bankrolled by Claire Bronfman. Now, if you don't know who she is, she's the heiress to the Seagram's liquor fortune. So you have a woman, a multi-billionaire heiress, is really the head and who was financing this sex ring.
It's all about the whiskey.
I feel like this is like an offshoot of people who would be part of that elite hunting group that uses the hostels in Europe to just like murder people whenever they're bored. You know what I mean? Like, all right, let's fly over and fucking get some Americans and chop them up. Do you want to do that bloodbath thing, that battery? Yeah, like, we'll go do that. That's what this shit sounds like. You know what I mean? And it's sort of like, I don't know. I mean, how do we wrap our heads around any of this to make sense of it? To your point, where's this going to end?
To your point, Michael. Go ahead, Mo.
People are like sometimes psychosis. It's like they're like a little crazy and they got money. What are they gonna do? And everyone just again turns their heads to them because there's a little like whoever with money, so no one cares.
Our worship of money is more intense than our understanding of like the value of human life. That's the only answer there is, I guess.
To your point, Michael, for this whole thing is that that's partially your answer to the question as to why this isn't bigger front page news, because when there is an heiress to Seagram's, it's in every convenience store and Acme and whatever across the world, like that's something that there's a lot of money and power that is keeping it that way. Everyone was okay to throw certain people were okay to throw Harvey and Bill Cosby and some people out there, rightfully. But in this situation, because there's so much money, it's almost like the age-old argument as to, liquor causes so much drunk driving, and cigarettes cause cancer and kill millions of people a year. But those companies are billion-dollar companies, so no one's really going to do anything about it. As much as they'll have commercials about drunk driving and cancer and statistics that are horrible, no one's really going to do anything about it. And in this situation, that's why Allison Mack isn't the first on the news like Harvey was, because there's people behind it that are running that machine that are saying, okay, let's spin this, let's try to make her and Kristen and whoever is involved in this like that they were the ones who were brainwashed into this cult by Raniere, and they didn't know what it was all about. Because again, whether or not that's true or not, I can't say. But to answer your question, that's why it's not front page news, and you're not going to hear about it like we've heard about all these other stories in the last few months, because money that deep, like, silences a lot of people.
To your point right there, I don't know if anybody has seen this on Facebook. It's been going around the last couple of days. There was somebody compiled like 20 different local news reports that were all owned by the same company, but the same master company owned all of these stations. And all of the anchors were basically saying the same thing. They had 20 windows on the screen, and it was like news reporters from all across the country almost speaking in the same exact cadences and everything. And it was to prove when you have one company controlling the outlet, the story will be exactly the same no matter where you're seeing it from. And you think you're just getting straight news because you're seeing the local face, you're seeing something you're supposed to trust. But when you look at it like this, how could you possibly pull that off? You know what I mean? 20 different stations where it almost lines up exact, where they're all speaking almost in the exact same time and rhythm. It was like robotic and horrifying. I think it might have even been shared on the Hallow9ine page. So plug for us. Check that out. Hallow9ine Network on Facebook.
Well,
yeah, I like that plug. Oh, by the way,
awesome plug.
Can you say it again? But
awesome
slower.
The Hallow9ine Network on Facebook. The word Hollow, the number 9, INE.
Oh, Dave's good at this. When I eventually get over there on their horror podcast to visit, I'm going to do the same thing. So
every time he speaks, he's like, "Well, speaking from Morbidly Beautiful,
Oh no, I was going to say Hallow9ine too, just to say it.
Oh, all right, cool. Thank you. Help me out.
So I mean, like, ultimately, as people that work in the genre, as people that are fans of the genre, of the industry, fuck the genre and the industry. What do we do from here? I mean, we're the smaller cogs on the wheel, unfortunately, but I mean, it's like, how do we wrap our heads around this craziness? Do we just finally throw our hands up and go, okay, everyone's fucked up. Men or women, when men are fucked up, women are fucked up. We're all just fucked up. And to Dave's point, when are we going to get back to just lead your own damn life? I don't need to know everything that happens in your life.
Oh, yeah,
I think
go ahead, Mel.
I felt that way for a while. There's a lot of fucked up people on there. You know what? You check out after a while. Like I said, I've seen like so much shit and dealt with so much shit in the industry that after a while, nothing surprises you. You're just like, oh, okay. So for me, I just live my life, and I try not to throw a lot of personal stuff out there. I will mention things because I've been through a lot of weird shit. It even goes longer than deeper than what was just talked about. And it's like, but it's just, I literally had something happen where an HR rep asked me what I was wearing. And she said, literally, it can't get out, and we can't say anything about it. It was literally when a coworker and I were drugged by a client. And I got to tell the company, nothing. But it was a very bad situation. I luckily snapped out of it and knew something was not right. But I can tell you right now, it's a deeper story. But, like, literally, I had those words said to me. What were you wearing? I was literally wearing dress pants. And I was wearing a dress shoe.
Jeez.
And then she's like, so we can't have any of this get out. And so it was a client, I had my coworker, which was a guy, he got more drugs because he drank more of the drink we got. And like, we started questioning the client. I said, because my friend's a drug dealer, and I'm doing my head's hurting, her heads were hurting for like a week. There's like a lot of drama. So no, I'm not going to get it. It's a whole nother fucking story. But like, I knew we were drugged. So like, I brought to HR and they panicked and like, it literally got swept underneath the sheets, like basically, you know, the fucking rug. So my coworker left a month later and I left 2 months later. So
that's just a...
So it's just like, so literally those words were said to me. So it's like this is over 10 years ago. So this is back when people were really covering up and HR was known to cover things up. And so it's like things like that. It's like, you know, you just realize you're just another number.
Right.
Then you realize you're really just another number. It's supposed to finish everything. It doesn't matter. You're expendable. No one cares. Like in the industry, you're just another number. Yeah, it's all, you do your job. You do your job, that's it. If you succeed, cool. You know, it's like, you're just another number. That's all it is. No one cares. So it's like, yeah, you can get fans, you get following, which I appreciate, they're cool. But like, eventually, everyone dies, everything dies out, you just end up being another number. You're like, okay, cool. So you just do your job. So you just find jobs that you just work. And I honestly did come close to having my own show, like talk show, like a real talk show, with a major network, not gonna say which one. I was dealing with a production company. The producer got obsessed with me, oddly obsessed. And he said, and then randomly, I was working, he says, well, you know, if we do this, then you have to be my travel companion. There he said those words to me, is to come with me, I want to go traveling. I looked at him like, dude, I have a regular job. I'm not going to travel with you. I'm not even going to do this. I'm like, really? I'm like, that's what it takes. I don't care. And then that was fucking shit canned. This is what it was done. I'm like, okay, whatever. So it's like, it's just people, but again, he was just another number. He was let go from that company like not even a year later. So it was just a number. Everyone's just expendable. No one cares.
It's so funny that the whole image of being a Hollywood player was that people would be throwing themselves at you because they're so enamored with your power. And really, it's all just like they're creating these scenarios where it's like, all right, you're either into this or you're gone. That's fucking, to me, this shit is wild. Like hearing this, that it's like this sounds like shit from a TV show. This doesn't sound like how is real life? God,
that's why I trip out on these chicks that like talk their shit all the time. Like you don't even know how close they came to quote some of these things, and it's like it's real life. And you know what? And after a while, you say fuck it. It's like why? Like really why? There's other things out there. Like okay, like a lot of people when you make a film, a lot of people don't like your fucking film. They fucking want to talk shit. You're like okay, well talk shit. It's like. Eventually, you're like, why? It's just, you know, if you're creative, you can do it for your own creative purpose, you know. But there's people that really think they have to do certain things to succeed. So that's my rant.
Michael, to answer your question about like where do you go, I think you can continue the conversation like for whoever will hear it. Like it's something that unfortunately all these monsters are not going to get outed. But I think the more that people are willing to tell these stories about the people who truly are horrible and truly do abuse power and people that do lose their jobs, that's at least beneficial because those people are not continuing to siphon money off of people by having those power positions. So, but again, as far as like, is it going to end? Again, I think there probably has been people who have kind of reined themselves in because of this situation, and maybe they won't get outed from things they've done in the past, but again, it's one of them things where if you can continue the conversation and continue asking why this Allison Mack situation isn't front page news, asking why these certain situations are kind of swept under the carpet, whereas other ones are not. Like, at least it gets out there. Just like, because again, I feel like this movement, like it does feel like, just like anything in life, that things kind of lose steam, like as they go. Like it's only been a few months, and you don't hear about it as much. And then 6 months from now, you'll hear about it less, more names come out and are kind of outed for being like credence that deserve to be in jail, to be honest, because if we did some of these things, we would be in jail. We would be in front of a court, or we would at least be in that sector. And I don't see Harvey Weinstein standing in front of a judge. I don't see Kevin Spacey or any of these people. And we don't know that Allison Mack will end up. Again, that's a situation that's horrible to say, but we don't know that because of the power that's around her, from what you said with the Seagram's heiress and things of that nature. But again, the more people that can be outed, the better.
You know,
I mean, on the viewer side, I don't know that people have people really started to like protest with their dollars yet. I mean, have people stopped going to movies and seeing certain people's films or watching certain people's shows? And do you go back and not enjoy the stuff that they had done before any of this came out? I was watching Heat earlier tonight on Netflix, and my first thought was, wow, this is one of those movies that I've always thought was absolutely perfect, but now my mind can't watch any movie without thinking, all right, well, which one of these crazy fuckers was the one raping people on this set, or like, you know, treating PAs like shit, or, you know, like trying to like hit on the chick and bringing the coffee. And it's like, I feel like I don't know if I'm going to be able to watch any movies in any genres now without having that thought occur to me until we start hearing some claims about people who are good, who are clean, you know, who haven't been doing this shit. I'm thinking like, please tell me De Niro and Pacino are in the clear, but how the fuck could they be if they're so, you know, center focus of the industry? You know, it's rough. It's very rough. I think there's like a lot.
It's tough too because, like, I've heard it too, just on the inside, is that it's tough because so many people are attached that are fine. So, like, it's hard when you are cutting off shows or you're cutting off residuals for certain things because, like, I saw this with the protest for Cosby. It's like, he did a lot of horrible things, obviously, but all the people that were on the show and that work for the show that have been getting residuals for 20 plus years for that show, like, when it got taken off worldwide, a lot of people lost money. So it's horrible sometimes to punish people for the actions of that one person. Like, I'm glad that House of Cards continued without Spacey, because then all those people still have their jobs that are good people, and they didn't lose the whole another season of their work because of an asshole that did the horrible things that he did. And that's the harsh part of it, is because a lot of times, like, there is that, oh, well, we can cut this or we can cut that. But there's also people attached to these people who suffer from the actions of, now, if they knew about it, then screw them. But if they did, and a lot of these are just hardworking people on crews and other actors that are working with these people that lose out. And I don't agree with that side of it, because it's not fair for you to suffer because of the actions of one horrible soul.
Agreed. You know, Mo, we're right here at the very end, but I want to give you a chance to get a last word and thoughts.
Oh no, I was going to say. Well, actually, personally, I love Kevin Spacey as an actor. So for me, it's hard. So I like his movies. I always thought he was a great actor. So it's like almost like I hate putting it inside my head, but I kind of have to because I think he's a great actor. So it's like I'm not going to stop watching the Jeepers Creepers series. I know he's a creeper too, but you know, it's like you know, and I'm a fan of the actual movies, the art, you know, the art of it. You know, it might not be a fan of the person, just in general, like when you meet somebody you don't like or you don't agree with some of the crimes they've done. But you know, for me, I look at the art form. I like the art form. And I also don't like, I mentioned this in a previous podcast about how it does affect the other actors, other people on crew, everyone involved. If someone cuts a show or cuts, you know, or like cancels a show or anything, it affects anyone around them. So it's not just, the film's not just about Kevin Spacey. It's not just about whoever else. You know, it's not just about Harvey. It's like, it's whoever else is involved in that show. And those people, like going back to Harvey, you know, the films he invested in, you know, who the allegations against him, you know, those girls made that film. So what are you supposed to do? Not watch the film? Like,
right.
You know,
it's like the film already exists. You know? Yeah,
it's there. You know, you already liked it. You know, you already liked their acting.
Yeah, it's, you know, it's like, I'm going to have I'll never be able to give up Reservoir Dogs. I don't care what anyone says.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, am I going to do it?
Yeah, I mean.
Yeah.
There you go. Like I said, we don't really know any of these people. I get crucified sometimes for saying this to certain friends, but we really don't know any of these people. Honestly, I know some of them, but you all know different people in the industry, so we could attest to their character. But, like, we don't really know musicians or a lot of these people, their characters, so you do kind of have to separate yourself sometimes from the work, whether it's music or film or TV or whatever, because, again, like, we don't know what's going on behind closed doors with Brad Pitt or with whoever, like, with any rock star, rapper, whoever. So, and then when things come out, people are like, oh my God, I can't believe Johnny Depp did that, or I can't believe so-and-so did that, or so-and-so whatever, but we don't really, it's because we put these people on a pedestal that they really don't deserve to be on, to be honest. So for me, I listen to music. Like, you can hate Michael Jackson if you want for what you think he did, but it's not going to stop me from listening to Thriller. So it's like, because I can kind of keep that, but there's a lot of people that don't. There's a lot of people that will just crucify people because of allegations or because of, and rightfully so, if they were found guilty for things, but a lot of people have not been. That people just say, oh, I hate that Tom Cruise for all that stuffy. And I'm like, I'm still going to watch Top Gun or whatever movie is on if I feel like watching it. If I feel like watching it, regardless if I think Scientology is creepy or not, it doesn't change the art form that we've grown up on.
That's so very true.
Real quick, what I find interesting is the people that are attacking those films, people attack you for watching that film. It's like, why?
Yeah.
It's my opinion. It's my taste. Why now you're attacking me? It's my opinion. It's my taste. So have your own opinion. But like,
somebody said, how could you watch, like, a couple weeks ago, I was watching Usual Suspects. How could you watch that? I was like, what are you talking about? I was like, I'm not friends with Kevin Spacey. I don't know the dude. I'm not gonna hang out with the dude. Like, but seriously, it's like, the movie came on, and I'm like, it's a great movie. So it's no different than a song or anything else that. Again, you can choose not to ever watch anything he's in, turn it if you flip a channel and something K-Pax is on or some movie he's in or whatever. But again, it is K-Pax. It is what it is. Like, I think it's funny when people want to get on the soapbox and say, how could you support Scientology by watching Tom Cruise or by doing this, or how could you listen to Michael Jackson, or how could you do that? I'm like, shut up. Like, seriously, like, a lot of these people have skeletons in their own closet. Come on.
It's very true. And
a lot of people. Some of these New Age feminists will bash into me more because I'm like, you don't fucking know. Shut the fuck up. Yeah, it's like so bad to me. I'm supporting whatever the fuck. I'm like, it's on your head, dude. All that shit's in your head. You just leave me alone.
It's a new trend of just pretending whatever we don't like never existed once we decide we don't like it. And it's like, this is why it is going bad. You have to, everything is a part of the accumulation of your experiences. You can't just like pretend certain things didn't happen. And that's why you're saying, it's like, these movies exist, all right? Even though we found out this shit happened while they were being made, we still are there. And we all watch them already to be able to get to the point where we're talking about the people in them. So let's fucking not pretend that shit didn't happen and we didn't have a good time doing it. So fuck it. We will watch any new shit they do. They will still have to make any more movies. How about that?
We'll just have a marathon of everything. The whole marathon is running.
Well, guys,
then you have trolls that are out there just stirring the pot, like just to make it work.
Well, guys, I want to thank you for coming on. I know it's a touchy subject, but thank you so much for coming on and talking about it. And you guys know you're always welcome to come back on the podcast. And if you ever have any news, let me know, and I'll get it up on Morbidly Beautiful.
Absolutely. Nice. Good to meet you, Mo. Take care, guys.
Yeah, great panel, guys. Thanks a lot. Thanks for having me.
And once again, I would like to say thank you to filmmakers Brandon E. Brooks and Mo Whalen
as well as fellow podcaster Dave Maresca from the Hallow9ine Network for coming on to talk about such a divisive subject. And, like I said, people listen to the show, people who know me, the things that I cover, I really do truly believe in equality. And if we're going to have equality, if we're going to talk about men in the industry with allegations about them, then women in the industry that have allegations against them are just as fair game. Anyone who does this, no matter their gender, is an evil person, and it needs to be thrown out there, and they need to get the heat that everyone else is getting. So if these things about Allison Mack wind up being true, I hope you burn just as bad as allegedly Harvey Weinstein and all of these other male names that come up. I mean, after all, equality is equality. Coming up in just a few moments, we're going to go into our final digital dismemberment spotlight for the evening, where we'll be covering Scream Factory's Blu-ray release of the film Cockneys vs. Zombies. But before that, we're going to go into our final Metal Massacre spotlight this evening.
The name of the band is Birth the Wretched. The name of the CD is Birth the Wretched. And the name of the first song is Raptured by Genocide. welcome back. You just heard our final double shot from the band Birth the Wretched. From their CD Birth the Wretched, that song was Clerical Defilement. And before that was Raptured by Genocide. But coming up now is our final digital dismemberment. And in our final digital dismemberment spotlight this evening, we are covering Scream Factory's Blu-ray release of Cockneys vs. Zombies. The film was directed by Matthias Hohen, produced by Mark Birmingham, Andrew Boswell, Will Clark, Simon Crow, James Harris, Matthias Hohen, Matthew Joines, Mark Lane, and Susie Legatt. Special effects were handled by Sally Alcott, Stuart Conrad, and Emma Slater. The cast includes Rasmus Hardiker, Harry Treadway, Michelle Ryan, Jake Doolin, Georgia King, Ashley Thomas, Tony Gardner, Richard Breers, Natalie Walter, Georgina Hale, and Honor Blackman. It was released by Shout Scream Factory in 2013. The premise: when some down-on-their-luck old-timers are at risk of losing their home to developers, a group of young, inept criminals decide to take matters into their own hands. The only thing standing in their way? A zombie outbreak in London. Now, it's up to a bunch of East Enders to fight their way out of the zombie-infested city, led by an unlikely gang of amateur bank robbers and foul-mouthed, plucky pensioners. Starring Michelle Ryan from The Bionic Woman in 2007, Honor Blackman from Goldfinger, Harry Treadway from The Lone Ranger in 2013, Richard Briers, Much Ado About Nothing, and Alan Ford of Lock, Stock, and Two Smoking Barrels, this funny, likable, and gory zombie comedy delivers. It's a laugh riot. Now, just so you know, there will be spoilers throughout the rest of the review. Now, one thing that must be made clear before you sit down and watch this film: throw away any preconceived notions that you may have about comparing this and Shaun of the Dead. While both films have comedic elements and are British, the films are totally different. Matthias Hohen shot the film with a steady hand and a great eye for locations. Some of the characters are over the top, like Ashley Thomas's Mickey Mental, but the characters and the story call for it. Every single member of the cast filled their roles to the max, with special nods to Alan Ford, Richard Breers, and Dudley Sutton and Honor Blackman for the portrayals of the senior citizens. Some people may see the humor as too over the top or have trouble with the characters' accents, but those are minor oversights at best. The effects work is quite good, but the only thing that caught my eye was the use of digital effects in several scenes, in particular blood spray. Great as a double feature with any zombie film that has comedy. Now, as the film opens up, we see a beautiful set of apartments until the camera pans up and we see a construction site being worked on. A crane operator digs up what looks like a crypt in the middle of the site. Out of curiosity, two of the workers go down into it and discover it is, of course, a crypt. Thinking at first they're going to find treasures, they are quickly dispatched by a couple of zombies that have been in the tomb. We cut to Terry and Andy trying to start a van and talking about their plans. They head off to take food to their grandfather and his friends at the nursing home they stay at, but while they are there, the building inspector is in the house measuring it for destruction, and we see the rapport that the older people in the house have with one another. Terry and Andy leave the home and discuss their plans to knock off a bank with their friends so that they can save their grandfather. After picking up Davy and Katie, they pick up Mental Mickey, who supplies them with guns. They dress up as construction workers and are mistaken as pickup men for a company and wind up stealing 2.5 million euros from them. The police are waiting for them outside, and a shootout occurs between the police and Mickey Mental. After retreating back into the bank and taking hostages, they head back outside to find the zombie apocalypse has just begun. They head to their meetup point to decide what to do. Meanwhile, the zombies overrun the nursing home,
forcing several of the inhabitants, including Terry and Andy's grandfather, to defend themselves and shelter themselves in the kitchen. After Mickey gets bitten and turned into a zombie, the robbers have to kill him to save the hostages and get their car keys. Davy and one of the hostages gets killed in the process, and they agree that they need to get to their grandfather and save him. After going back to Mickey's and arming themselves to the teeth, they head out to the home and manage to get inside and arm the senior citizens. After shooting their way out of the house and onto a bus, they try to get out of the city until the bus breaks down. In another amazing shootout, they make it to the docks to where there's an empty boat, but in their attempt to get away, they forget to loosen the anchor. Do they all escape, or do the zombies overtake them? Is this the end of London and the end of the world? You're going to have to watch to find out. Bonus features for this disc include audio commentary with the director Matthias Hohen, and there's a second audio commentary with writer James Moran. There's a Cockneys vs. Zombies original look behind the scenes. There's one entitled The Maguire Brothers, which runs 4 minutes and 30 seconds. Rasmus Hardiker and Harry Treadway talk about their characters, the motivations in the film, and what it was like on set with the conditions and the crew. There's another one entitled The Bank Robbery, which runs 3 minutes and 30 seconds. That includes Michelle Ryan, Ashley Thomas, and Matthias Hohen breaking down the bank robbery scene and showing us what happened outside the bank when the zombies showed up. There's another one entitled The Care Home, which runs 3 minutes. Honor Blackman and Michelle Ryan discuss the zombie attack on the care home and the action that took place during the filming of those sequences. There's another one entitled At the Docks, which runs 3 minutes. And that has Alan Ford and Michelle Ryan talking about the film in general, including the script, how many zombies they killed, and the director, all while extra footage of the dock scene is shown. Special effects, which runs 4 minutes. Paul Hyatt, Georgina Hale, and Dudley Sutton talk in detail about the zombie makeup, featured zombies, and how the characters dealt with the situation. The Filmmakers, which runs 5 minutes. That includes Matthias Hohen, Mark Lane, James Harris, and James Moran discussing the different ideas that went into the film, the cast and the crew, and how they all became involved in the project. Andy TV, which runs 2 minutes. Harry Treadway as his character Andy running around with a camera, interviewing various zombies and the cast and the crew in between takes. There's another one entitled Zombie School, which runs 5 minutes, and it's a short how-to film on how to be a zombie that the extras had to watch before going on set. There are also deleted scenes. There's 9 deleted scenes with separate commentary by Matthias Hohen and James Moran. It also includes the theatrical trailer. This is a 1-disc set in an NTSC format. It is a color film with no rating. Aspect ratio is a 1080p high-definition widescreen, 1035-1. Again, Shout and Scream Factory have brought us something new to Blu-ray, and it's another original film. A nice bit of attention went into behind-the-scenes features, which really highlights a lot of footage not shown in the film. And plenty of attention is given to the cast and the crew to talk about how they got involved with the project. It was also nice to get commentary on the deleted scenes as well. The color and sound are razor sharp as always. And I know this is nitpicking here, but I thought a music video or something along those lines would have been nice, as the music is quite catchy and entertaining in the film. Other than that, another very strong effort on bringing us original content and another beautiful disc. Overall, I give the movie a 3.5 out of 5. I give the Blu-ray overall an 8 out of 10. Make sure to head on over to Shout and Scream Factory to pick up your Blu-ray release edition of Cockneys vs. Zombies. Well, ladies and gentlemen, once again, I think we had an absolutely fantastic show with a topic that was pretty hard to discuss. Again, I would like to thank filmmakers Brandon E. Brooks and Mo Whalen, as well as Hallow9ine Network podcaster Dave Maresca for coming on to talk about the horrific things that Allison Mack has been accused of. I would also like to say thank you to Screen Factory for sending us our Blu-ray copies of The Town That Dreaded Sundown, as well as Cockneys vs. Zombies. I would also like to say thank you to the local band Birth the Wretched from Lewisburg, North Carolina, in the Dead Man's Neck of the Woods. Absolutely great, great music. Make sure to tune in next week, and don't forget that the Calling Hours Horror Podcast is nationally and internationally syndicated on Mile High Radio Friday nights at 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So until then, this is the Dead Man, Michael Jones of MorbidlyBeautiful.com, Coughing Cuties Magazine, and Digital Dead Magazine, telling you all to rest in peace. Wonderful